Right then, next player in the shortlist for Eric Ten Hag strike list, Goncalo Ramos. Player that has really broken onto the scene this season. He was around a bit last season, maybe a bit of a backup to Darwin Núñez, but this season, especially at the World Cup, he's proven that he can be one of Europe's top strikers. So we'll first look at the base stats. The stats you look at for a striker: goals and a few assists. So he kind of broke through 2019-20 season. This has been figures where you gradually come in, you don't really come in until you're ready, basically. So 2019-20, one appearances, got 2 goals. Good start, but then didn't really make a scene in his next season. 4 appearances, still got 2 goals. So even though he's not, playing that much, he's getting goals, which probably tells you a good sign. And last season was breakout season. He kind of started in that striker slot next to Darwin Núñez in that 4-4-2 for Benfica. And Darwin Núñez got the main service. He was their main man. He was kind of like the support player for Darwin Núñez. But even being a support player, getting 17 starts, 29 appearances, so 7 goals, 1 assist. So not too bad of a return for a 20-year-old. You take that really, especially when he's playing a supportive role to a player that got over 100 million euros. But then this season, he's been their main man. He's that lone striker. He's got the team around him. It's based to serve him. And he's been amazing. 21 appearances, all starts, 16 goals, 2 assists. Very, very good. He's just been, especially recently, in recent weeks, he's been blitzing the Portuguese league. And he's been doing it headers, left foot, right foot. His all-round finishing ability has been exceptional. And even in the Champions League, it's not as prolific as other top strikers, but last season, a goal and assist in 4 starts and 7 appearances, not too bad. 8 appearances, all starts this season, 3 goals and assists. He didn't really do much in the group stages. Did help Benfica get through though. And then in the knockouts, he against Club Brugge, he was excellent. Really, really good. A threat all the time. And for Portugal, 2 starts, 7 appearances, 4 goals, 2 assists. All 4 goals coming in that match against Switzerland, where famously he came in for Ronaldo and just scored 4 goals against Switzerland. Like, it was a bit random, but he did it, and that put him on the world stage, and people already knew about him. People knew what he was about, but that really put him up a level. That probably put his price tag up a level as well. It was probably rumored. He was already rumored around the 50 million mark, but I think that performance really made him into the 60, 70, 80 million pound player, 100 million pound player that we're seeing this season. And that's probably not helped by the Darwin Núñez price either. We'll look at the pros. First of all, for him, off-ball runs. He makes runs all day long. Doesn't really come short that often. It's more in behind, in between centre-backs kind of runs. So he's that kind of threat, more like an Oshman rather than a Harry Kane that likes to drop deep. He's kind of the striker that Ten Hag likes. He likes the striker to occupy the central defenders, to keep them occupied, to create space for the midfielders to make runs, for the wingers to stay wide, to create that space. He doesn't want players to be too near other players. He wants the striker mainly to be that threat in the box, occupying defenders' minds and spaces. And that's what he does. And his off-ball runs makes runs that take defenders away from other players. And he's very good at that. For a young age, he's very, very good at that. And then what he's mostly known for, other than his good scoring record, defensive work rate, he is really, really good. And it's not just work rate. It's just his actual defensive capabilities as a striker. So he attempts 1.52 tackles per 90. This is compared to the players in the top 5 leagues and the Champions League and the Europa League. So 1.52 tackles per 90, 96th percentile. 0.76 tackles 1 per 90, 92nd percentile. 0.51 interceptions per 90, 91st percentile. 1.01 passes blocked per 90, 92nd percentile. 0.88 dribbles challenged per 90, 81st percentile. Very elite numbers. Not even someone like we recognise, like someone like Oshman, who's very, very good at that. Ramos is a level above that. So if we've seen with someone like Weghorst compared to someone like Ronaldo, it works more with Weghorst because he adds that defensive work rate when we don't have the ball, when we want to win it back. Ramos is that guy. He loses the ball, he gets it back. A teammate loses the ball, he gets it back. He leads the press, and he's very, very good at it. Which is not a thing you expect from a 21-year-old. You expect a 21-year-old to be that just poach in the box, get in a few goals. You don't need to be too involved in play, but do your work. But his work defensively is exceptional for someone who's 21 years old. Very, very good. Close control as well. He's not, the best dribbling well, but when it's at his feet, he's quite good with it. In tight spaces, he's quite good at it. A 60% successful take on percentage, 97 percentile forwards. So he's decent when he's got the ball. He's not, high volume with it. He's not really in them positions to do so for Benfica. Like I said, he's a fox in the box striker. But when he's got with it, he's gone to Champions League against Clubbridge. I think it was his second goal in the first leg. That kind of epitomises quick close control, quick feet, get away from the defender, and slot it home. That's kind of what he does. It's not like a Sancho of it. He's not skillful with it, but he's effective with it when he has it. Like I said, perfect for Ten Hag. Just the striker he kind of like Haller, Brian Bobby, Kasper Dolberg, Wout Weghorst, occupy defenders, and just be that number 9 for him. And then missed up heading, but heading he's not, prolific at like someone like Oshman, but he challenges header. Like his defensive work rate, he doesn't give up. He wins 3.67 aerial duels per 90, 85th percentile, but he also loses 4.93 per 90, 7th percentile. So he wins a lot, he loses a lot. But that's what you kind of want in the striker. You want them to challenge for the ball. The more they challenge for the more less likely the defender is going to get. When we had someone like Ronaldo who didn't really challenge for it, if it's far away, he'll just wait for it. But he challenges for it. He works for the ball. And that's just very good. When it is on a 1v1 level, he probably can jump above and he can win headers, but he challenges for balls that aren't there to be won, but he's still doing well with it. And I think that's a very good trait to have. And age 21, turn 22, perfect age if you want to bring in the striker you want for the next decade. And if they do believe that, then that's the perfect age to get them in. Where they've had a bit of experience with Benfica for the past 2 seasons, but are ready to take that next step. Kind of a bit younger than Osherman, a lot younger than Kane, and a lot younger than some of the rest of the squad. And he can grow with the rest of the squad as well. Moving on to cons, compared to like someone like Kane and Osherman, he's inexperienced. He's done it for basically a year now, really being the main man. Like he was a sporting role last year, he's the main man this year. So if you want someone to challenge for the league next season, it's probably more like Harry Kane. But if you want someone that Ten Hag can see can develop into the top striker for 5, 6, 7 years, he's your guy. Inconsistent finishing, he's actually underperforming his XG by only a little bit in the Portuguese league this season. I think he's got 16 goals, but 16.5 XG, so not that much. But you're expecting someone worth that much money in the Portuguese league to be overperforming them stats, but he's not, which is a bit, bit worrying if you're Ten Hag and you want to rely on him. Will that translate to Premier League? So he gets the chances. Will he not put them away? It's kind of a bit about Wout Weghorst. He gets more chances about Weghorst, but if it's finished in cinema, is that much of a difference really? Price tag, like I said, are you willing to invest 100 million euros maybe? Because that's what Darwin Núñez sold for, and they're probably going to want a similar price to it. He's not that much different to what Darwin Núñez was last season. Just go, we did that last season. You were kind of interested last season in Darwin Núñez. Why are you not similar price for a player that have basically similar abilities really? Apart from the explosive pace that Darwin Núñez has, kind of similar players really. And then passing, it's very bad. I mean, he's not in the role to be the passer in a squad. I understand that, but also really bad stats. So 0.03 expected assist per 90. Bottom percentile first. 0.63 key passes per 90, 8th percentile. 0.51 passes into final third per 90, 7th percentile. 0.25 passes in the penalty area per 90, 7th percentile. Bit worrying that you kind of want your striker to have a bit of link-up play in him. But maybe that is what he is for Benfica because he's that lone striker in that system. They just want him to be that number 9. They don't want him to go out into other areas, but you still want a little bit more maybe, especially for someone that's playing the Portuguese league and this has been compared to other top leagues. You kind of want that to be higher. It is something to think about. Also a weird stat I've just mentioned now quickly, but 3.03 progressive passes received per 90, first percentile. So does he make himself open for passes that often? Probably not. So it's probably the weakness of him that he's very good at opening himself up for goals, but when receiving passes, making passes, very, very poor. And that's maybe something to think about if Ten Hag wants to challenge for the league next season. Now, how would he fit in with the rest of the squad? I think what we've seen without Weghorst, I think a player like that can do quite well in the squad. We don't really need a player like Harry Kane to drop deep all the time. If we get that progressive midfielder, I think we can afford to have a striker like Goncalo Ramos who kind of just stays up front and doesn't really open himself to receiving passes like that. I think his heading ability, the way he creates chances for himself, opening up space for others, I think that will work really well. We've seen that with Veghorst as well. Just his runs compared to someone like Ronaldo who didn't make any, that opens up space for other players like Rashford, like Bruno Fernandes, and others. And I think, previous connection with Bruno Fernandes, he works well within the Portuguese squad. I think he'll work well. Very similar to kind of Oshman. He's not on the level of Oshman, definitely not. He's not the athletic freak that Osman is. So I think in every sense of the word, Oshman is better than Goncalo Ramos. But I think Goncalo Ramos will cost less than Oshman. He should cost less. Oshman is 150 million euros compared to the between 70 and 100 million euros for Goncalo Ramos. That's because you're getting the worst player. But that's not, that being said, you're buying Goncalo Ramos because he can become one of Europe's top forwards. And that Eric Ten Hag, you trust him to do that. But do you want to have the guarantees of Oshman or Kane, or go for someone like Goncalo Ramos who might not develop into the player we think he is? And he could just be your average, 10 goals, 15 goals a season striker. That's something you have to think about. Because will that translate for the Portuguese league? It has shown in the past that it does work well, but maybe for the price, maybe not worth it. But I think the one good thing about Goncalo Ramos, you always know with them defensive numbers, he will bring something to the team. Kind of like Veghorst. We know his limitations, but we know he'll bring something to the team when he's not scoring. When Goncalo Ramos is not scoring, he'll work his socks off. He'll challenge for everything. He'll bring that defensive intensity. Kind of the opposite of what we had with Ronaldo. We knew if he didn't provide goals, he wasn't doing anything. We know Goncalo Ramos, he might not, be the passer that we might need up front if we don't get that progressive midfielder in, if we don't control games the way we want. But that defensive intensity, he will bring game after game after game, which will be infectious without the team and may make us a better team. But that also being said, he will be an improvement. Like, he will improve the squad, and that's also something to think about. I think there's somewhere we just need a striker that will improve us, and he will be. I think he's an improvement on Martial. I think he's an improvement on Valverde, of course, which is not really that hard. But I think it might take a little bit of time for him to settle in. I don't think he's not the guarantee that Kane Oshman is. It might take time to settle in. It might take a year, but you can also see him taking that leap every single season. He has taken that leap up. We've seen it from, even when he's playing it like a game or 4 games in the Portuguese league, he's scoring goals. So everywhere he's been, he's been in Benfica squad, whether that's been a support player, he has managed to get goals. But it's the other sides of the game that you do worry about a little bit, that other players can bring it. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. Comment your thoughts on Goncalo Ramos, like and subscribe, and see you next time.